Hey, Trey here. In case you haven't been keeping up, Us and Them and West Virginia Public Broadcasting have been collaborating with KCRW in Los Angeles on a series of conversations between Trump country in West Virginia and the blue bubble in Southern California. I've been checking in with my friend Chery Glaser on a weekly basis, and we're going to keep doing this up through the midterm election. Now, last week, when West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin voted to confirm President Trump's pick for the Supreme Court, he crossed party lines in a very public way. This is not something that surprised many West Virginia voters, but it left a lot of people in other states across the country asking, why is he even a Democrat? And that's the question we try to answer in this installment of our series, Red State, Blue State. And we're talking about this because it's a question that we heard from you.
I consider myself a conservative Democrat. I am not proud of what Joe Manchin's doing today. I believe he's listening to his constituents, and he is trying to straddle a very, very thin line. But I believe that he should have stood in solidarity with his party on principle. I would ask him, does he believe that Judge Kavanaugh will be impartial, an impartial judge when it comes to issues that are brought before the court, whether Democrat or Republican?
That's Nina Kaniram, who lives in Santa Monica, here in California. She's just one of many Americans who are scratching their heads over Joe Manchin's vote to confirm Brett Kavanaugh and over Manchin's political identity. Our Red State host, Trey Kay, is going to help us with this. Hey, Trey.
Hey, Chery. Yeah, this really gets at the differences between red state and blue state Democrats, and so gets at the differences between red and blue America. I'm here in West Virginia, and I've been meeting with a lot of my friends and just talking politics. And Robert White is a friend of mine. We go at it all the time on politics, and he put it this way.
My voting card says I'm a Republican.
And who are you going to vote for in this upcoming election?
Joe Manchin.
Why? I mean, you're a Republican.
I don't think that you should vote for someone simply because they have an R or a D beside their name. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Joe's an old school West Virginia Democrat, and people just don't know that. Democrats in West Virginia have never been out on the fringe on certain cultural issues that you and I both know are hot topics in the Democratic Party nowadays.
Okay, Trey, for those of us who aren't from the Mountain State, what exactly is an old school West Virginia Democrat?
Okay, to get that, you have to understand Joe Manchin's background. He comes from a tiny little town called Farmington, West Virginia, and it's in the same county that I was born in. The most important thing that you need to know is that he is an alumnus of the American Legislative Exchange Council, and that's a conservative think tank. And when he ran for the Senate, he took over the seat of Robert Byrd, a West Virginian who famously fought against the Civil Rights Act. Now, I spoke with Mason Adams, a political writer who focuses on Appalachia, and he's covered Manchin a lot over the years.
In that special election for Robert Byrd's seat, Joe Manchin aired an ad, and this was during, Barack Obama's first 2 years, and the ad depicted Manchin loading a gun and shooting the cap-and-trade bill that was then being discussed in Congress.
I sued EPA, and I'll take dead aim at the cap-and-trade bill because it's bad for West Virginia.
That ad sort of established his brand, and in D.C., there weren't a whole lot of Democrats that were shooting things in their ads. And so it sort of established him. He's worked pretty hard to maintain that centrist position. I think there's a flip side to it in that if you're the swing vote, the movable pivot in a tightly divided chamber, you can work some things for your constituents. The flip side is you're a target for everybody.
He was such a target when the NRA came after him hard after he supported gun control legislation after the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting back in 2012.
Okay, but it sounds like this whole gun-toting Democrat routine has worked for him at home, right?
It does, Chery. And this ad is kind of a 2-for-1. I mean, the focus of the ad is the Cap-and-Trade Act, and gun rights are casually mentioned, but they're so present in the ad. And this election cycle, Joe's at it again. I mean, there's a new ad and they're playing the same music, but this time Joe's toting a shotgun as opposed to a rifle.
Hey, I haven't changed. I might be a few years older, but I'll still take on anyone that messes with West Virginia. Now the threat is Patrick Morrissey's lawsuit to take away health care from people with pre-existing conditions. He is just dead wrong, and that ain't going to happen. I'm Joe Manchin, and I approve this message because for me, it's all about West Virginia.
Okay, hang on, Trey. How does this go down with someone like Robert? I mean, your friend, the GOP voter. Here you got Manchin. He may not spell it out in black and white, but he's talking about supporting a part of Obamacare, protections for pre-existing conditions, even if he is carrying a gun. In the midterms, GOP voters like Robert could vote for a real Republican, Patrick Morrissey. He's a candidate who says he plans to back President Trump and his policies.
Right, and this is where it gets complicated. Because, yeah, West Virginians are mostly opposed to Obamacare as an issue. But as a state, they benefit a lot from the Affordable Care Act's protections. And Senator Manchin knows that. And it's something that my friend Robert really cares about. I mean, he's had some serious health problems over this past year. And he's not so much interested in advancing a national political agenda.
Don't tell me that I should vote for you simply because you're going to do what the president tells you to do. When we have all of our eggs in one basket or one party, it's not good for our country. It's good to have it divided to where one side can keep an eye on the other. In this case, it's very, very important that West Virginia and the right thing for us is what Joe Manchin will do. Joe Manchin, that's more important to me. The welfare of our state is more important to me than what may or may not happen in Congress or in the Senate.
But Trey, have you been hearing from any Democrats in West Virginia who are not happy about Manchin's vote on Kavanaugh?
I have. Another friend, Karen Ireland, told me that she's changed her vote. Now, she's a mother and she's a city council member here in Charleston. And she knows Senator Manchin personally, and she's supported him in the past. But this year, she and her daughter were part of a sit-in protest in Manchin's Charleston office, and this was over the Kavanaugh nomination.
For me, this is something that has become personal. My daughter sat in his office and cried and shared her story. I can't, in good conscience, vote for him after seeing that kind of vulnerability and courage from her, a 15-year-old. Senator Heitkamp was able to make the difficult decision to vote no. She's in as tough a race as he is, in as conservative a state as he is. This is a hill I'm ready to die on.
Karen is a good example of a Democratic voter who didn't always agree with Manchin, but thought that he was a surer bet than a more liberal or progressive candidate. But she says that over time he's changed and he votes more with President Trump and the Republican agenda than he used to.
Well, I guess we'll see in a couple weeks whether voters there stick with an old school Democrat or go with the Trump Republican.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out.
Thanks a lot, Trey.
Thank you, Chery. We'll talk to you next week.
In difficult times, music gives us peace, brings us together, and helps heal us. It calms our nerves and brightens our days. That's why we're bringing you classic episodes of Mountain Stage on air and in our podcast. This is Larry Gross, host of Mountain Stage. Find something that's familiar or brand new and feel the power of live music on our website, mountainstage.org.
You've been listening to Red State, Blue State, a collaboration between Us and Them and KCRW in Santa Monica, California. This is one of several conversations that we'll present each week leading up to the midterm elections, and we want to hear from you. Maybe you heard this a couple of weeks ago.
I'm the product of a junior high English teacher and a degreed electrical engineer. I didn't finish college myself, but that certainly doesn't mean that I'm a dumbass nose-picking hillbilly. I've got a lot of skills that the vast majority of this country does not have. And when the Hollywood and the and the musical people start getting on their high horse and on their soapbox, it really irritates the shit out of me, because who are they? Who is this actor that thinks that I should follow their plan because they have the only plan that's right?
That's my cousin Hollis Jones, originally from Beckley, West Virginia, and now a mechanic in Stanton, Virginia, and he's sharing his opinion of Californians. Well, Californian Shane Winter wanted to tell Hollis what he thought.
There seems to be a broad perception of a bunch of liberal idiots that are willing to do anything and everything at the drop of a hat. I would be inclined to show him maybe some of the industrial spaces here in downtown where I live, where people are opening a lot of small workshops, doing anything from motorcycle customization to art to shop invention kind of stuff, with the hope that it would show where some of the things that he said that he valued, craftsmanship, the skilled work, are applied in ways that he might not think of by people who are interested in pushing their craft or artwork forward.
If you are a blue stater, is there something about you and where you live that you think a red state voter just doesn't get? And if you live in a red state, what would help someone in the blue bubble understand you better? Would you share that with us? Go to wvpublic.org and search Red State Blue State, or you can go to kcrw.com/Red State Blue State and let us know. We look forward to hearing from you.
Support for this podcast comes from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
From PRX.